yoga therapy for pelvic health to all the women out there, right? And there is a difference between yoga and yoga therapy, all of you, right? I did not understand, but yoga therapy addresses the whole person, mind, body, and soul. That is the difference. And we have Jessica right now, who is a yoga therapist, and yoga therapists go through 500 hours of training as opposed to 200 hours of training. So just want you to know the difference between yoga and yoga therapy. So hang on for 1 second, and Jessica's going to join me for 1 minute. All right, so Jessica should be here, and we will talk about how yoga therapy helps with pelvic health, right? And then, all right, there you are, Jessica. Hi, how are you?
Hi. Good. How are
Good,
you?
good. I was just telling our viewers that, there's a difference between yoga and yoga therapy, right? And do you want to elaborate a little bit? And Jessica is a yoga therapist, because yoga therapy therapists go through 500 hours as opposed to 200 hours. Do you want to elaborate a little bit?
Yeah, actually, a lot of yoga therapists, it's more like 600 to 800 hours minimum that they go through. So I actually did a 500-hour program, and then the yoga therapy was on top of that, an additional amount of hours. So yes, a lot of additional training, and we're able to work with more specific concerns that people have. So, where a yoga teacher, if someone were to say, well, I'm having back pain, well, then a yoga teacher could say, hey, here are some poses that typically, help strengthen the back, stretch the back, whatever. But a yoga therapist, while we cannot diagnose, we can look into deeper reasons with what's going on with the back. If you tell me you have a specific back concern, then I can work with that specific concern. So a lot of times we also work with, say, physical therapists or chiropractors or doctors, so that we can all come up with a plan of care together to help that person. And then also, when we work with a client, we give them a very specific customized plan of care so that they can do things on their own between sessions. And a lot of people still choose to work together long term, but I know with my clients, after the first 3 sessions, they have something. If they never wanted to work together again, or maybe they couldn't afford it or whatever, they have a full plan of care that they could do on their own forever.
Okay.
And so, it's really empowering.
Yes.
It's a really empowering experience.
No, I think that's great. And that's what I want to emphasize, because we're bringing a yoga therapist, and then people should know. And a lot of people don't understand the difference between yoga and yoga therapist. And we are talking about yoga therapy for pelvic health. So explain us a little bit on this particular one. Like, is there particular asanas combined with the breathing and the mental? How does yoga therapy specifically helps with the pelvic health?
Yes, so we do look at the whole person. I'm not just going to give someone asana. I'm not just going to give someone pranayama specifically, but instead I'm going to look at everything about them. I'm going to look at their lifestyle. I'm going to look at their breathing, all this kind of stuff, so that I can curate this program for them. And so usually in that plan of care, they will have specific asana that helps. They will have specific pranayama and breathing practices to help. But then we can also look at, their diet, or at least I can. I don't think every yoga therapist has that training, but, you can look at different aspects to give them a whole person treatment. Does that answer the question?
Yes.
Or do you want me to get a little more specific about pelvic health?
Sure. So let's just walk through a small routine on pelvic health. Like, you talked about the asanas, you talked about the breathing, you talked about the whole person. But can you just give an example on what that would look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So it depends on what's going on, but something that would help anybody pretty much, as long as they could get into this position, would be to lie down and elevate their legs. So ideally lie on the floor and elevate your legs in a chair, because legs at the wall, while it can be restorative for some people, can actually cause tension for others, because it's like you want to hold your legs in a certain position. But if you lie your legs in a chair and you put the backs of your knees all the way up against the edge of the chair and you let your feet relax, then you can start to go through and relax all the muscles of the pelvis, of the legs, because a lot of times there's pelvic tension holding the legs in a specific position. So when you fully support the legs in this way, it allows for you to fully relax. And then focusing on breathing, especially into the belly and rib cage, so that it helps to reach the diaphragm and reach the pelvic floor so that it's able to relax properly. If you breathe really shallow, then the diaphragm and pelvic floor are not typically moving in the way that they need to be able to do their job.
So,
deep breathing and legs in the chair would be a good start.
Do you want to give us a demo?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. I think that would be the best.
Oh, on the breathing, yeah, sure. So something that you can do is you can take your hands and place them on your belly or on your rib cage or both, and just focus on relaxing the breath, and then just seeing if you even breathe into the belly or if it's all up in the chest and shoulders. And I like to do sort of an affirmation as a reminder over and over of low, slow breathing. Low, slow breathing, so that you can remember to breathe low into the belly, a slow breath back out. And some people cannot make themselves breathe into the belly. This might not be something that's available to them immediately. So they can do something called candle breath, where they breathe in as normal, but when they breathe out, they purse their lips and just breathe out like you're blowing on a candle enough to make it flicker but not go out. And you blow until all the air is gone. So at a certain point, you'll feel the muscles contract in your belly, and then you'll breathe back in as normal. And once you do this a few times, it forces the breath to go into the belly. So it helps to sort of make that connection between the breath and the belly. So that's what I can offer people that, just can't seem to make that connection. They try to breathe into the belly and it just doesn't happen. But if that is available to you, just stopping and focusing on breathing into the belly and breathing into the rib cage. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So let's just explain us a little bit what happens, like what are the issues that you've seen with the pelvic health, in your clients, and how does yoga therapy brings the balance into that?
So a lot of what I see is incontinence. So urinary is typically the most common, urinary leakage. And whether it be just when you cough or sneeze, or, stress incontinence, where you're on your way to the bathroom, or you get home in the afternoon, you stick your key in the door, and all of a sudden, like, you can't wait another second. It's happening. I see that a lot. And then I also see sexual concerns. So, pain with intercourse. I see painful menstruation, pelvic floor prolapse, and digestive issues. Now, in men, I mostly work with women. In men, it's typically manifest as low back pain and hip pain, which can be for women as well, sexual concerns, and digestive issues.
So there's a routine, how long do they have to go through the therapy before they can say, let's say someone's having pain when they're doing intercourse, as an example, right? So what would be some routine, like an example, like couple of asanas, breathing, what would be that?
I would still give them the same thing, legs in the chair, to focus. So the reason why I have this specific thing is because what I think a lot of people don't realize is that most of pelvic floor concerns actually comes from hypertonicity. It actually comes from the muscles being too tight, and you being tensed up. So if you think of when you're stressed out and you clench your jaw or shrug your shoulders, the same thing is happening in the pelvic floor. As a matter of fact, there's a connection between the jaw and the pelvic floor. Usually if you're clenching your jaw, you're tightening up down there as well. So a lot of these issues and concerns come from people being, the muscles being too tense, and they don't know how or can't seem to release them. And so if you think about it, if you have a really tight, really sore muscle, if you've ever gotten a massage and someone starts poking on it, it doesn't feel that good, not until it releases. So it's a similar concept, except you're in a more vulnerable position. And then oftentimes what happens is if you've had painful intercourse for a while, then, it changes your libido because it doesn't feel that good. And so if you're not prepared, then it's going to feel even worse. And so, it's sort of a pattern. So I really focus on relaxing and releasing the pelvic floor. That's my main concern. I know most people, it's sort of in our society to tell us that we're not, we're too loose, we're too loose, to put it really, bluntly. And when in reality, it's oftentimes the opposite. And so I feel like most people need that opportunity to learn to relax and release the muscles in order to, ease a lot of the issues. Because even with incontinence, what ends up happening is the muscle, a true test of a muscle isn't how strong it is, it's how much movement there is, right? Like, can you fully relax the muscle and can you fully engage the muscle? And if it's constantly tense and then you sneeze, this happens, which isn't much. You need to be able to fully contract it. And so a lot of people are walking around like this and they just don't know it. So I focus on trying to relax and release so that they can get that full range of mobility back, if you will.
So what I'm thinking, what you're saying is the tightening of the pelvic muscle is probably very correlated with the mental health of the person too, right? And you talk about
definitely.
So all this is all interconnected because, and then so you would work with some breath work at the same time as some like the yoga asanas. Would that be the routine? How you would work it out?
Absolutely. And, I customize my sequences.
Sure.
And so I'm just giving you sort of a general idea. But I really do look at the whole person's lifestyle. So if they are, a lot of the people I work with are very type A, they're hard workers and they, have kids. And so they work hard all day. And then they come and see me and don't understand, they're so stressed out and so tense. And a lot of times when they first reach out to me, they heard that yoga is great. And that's all they know. And so they reach out and they're like, well, I want to strengthen and I want to tone. And then I start talking to them about what it is that I do. And that's not my focus. And they're like, oh, wait, no, I need that. So, yeah, usually the breath work that I give them is specific to them, but it's all about relaxing them. The asana that I give them is, again, typically about relaxing. And it may be a specific area that I'm working with based on whatever they're going through. And then a lot of times I give yoga nidra, which, not sure if your audience is familiar, but it's like a guided relaxation, like shavasana. It's a guided relaxation that really takes them into a nice deep state of relaxation, sometimes even sleep itself. And that can often help, because you are able to access that full relaxation that may not be as accessible when you're conscious of it. So I do that a lot with folks as well.
And so what about sound healing, like mantra chanting, right? That's also, yoga encompasses a lot of other things. You also incorporate, like we talked about the yoga nidra, which is the meditation, guided meditation. We talked about the asanas, we talked about the breathing. And so what about the mantra chanting? Because the sound of Om, right? It comes as the amazing feeling.
Yes, I don't do as much of that. I do it a lot in my personal practice, and when I've worked with someone for a while, then I will. I also, but the main mantra that I focus on is the So Hum mantra, as that is usually I put that along with sort of a soma release, a nectar release that I was taught by my mentor, Kaya Minlin, and as they start to learn the So Hum with the breath, then we can start to visualize the soma going from the center of the head to the tailbone and the Agni coming back up. So I do that a little bit. That's the main thing that I use as far as mantra, though occasionally I do other things. I also sometimes use mudra.
Okay. All right. Any other feedback? I see a lot of people join. I know it's middle of the day today, but I still see a lot of people join. If there any feedback, comment, and if you can't think of the comments right now, you're welcome to DM us later. But anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up today?
So much that I could.
I know these are like
I really
all sessions.
Yeah. My biggest challenge is just to have people look and see if they're having these concerns, do they have a very, stressful active life? Like, who of us doesn't, right? But, are they walking around very tense? Are they able to relax? Have them lie down, put their legs in a chair, and see, can you relax? And if not, that might be very telling for you. That might be something that you definitely need to work with. Because, again, I know our society really rewards activity. And, we'll even sometimes brag about, oh, I only need 4 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
No, you don't. Biologically, you need 7 to 9 hours of
Yeah.
sleep. But it's like we prize, we I don't know, we just love saying how hard we can work, but we don't see that all of these things happen, especially with the pelvic floor and the hips, that's related to this overactivity. So I encourage you to try to sit down and relax and breathe and spend just a few minutes every day just chilling. Just focusing on your breath and relaxing your muscles.
Yeah. No, and then I just want to emphasize, the yoga therapy is not only physical, but it's also emotional and mental. And most of us don't understand. We just love to wear a Lululemon and kind of shake our booties out there, you know what I mean? And not really pay attention to what yoga therapy can do for us. That's all, right?
Yeah, and I always have my clients at the beginning of class, I'll usually have them lie down in Shavasana and do a check-in. And I will tell them, check in, see how you're feeling physically, notice where you're tight, where you're tense. And then I'll have them check in emotionally. Mm-hmm. I will have them check in energetically in a way to see, like, on a physical level, are you feeling very sluggish, very lazy, very heavy? Are you feeling like you could go jog a few miles, around the building? Or where on that spectrum are you? And then mentally, in that same way, where are you on that spectrum? Are you feeling very foggy, very sleepy? Are you feeling very, restless? And do these things match up? Because sometimes that disconnect comes from our mind is very active and restless and wants to do all these things, and our bodies are just exhausted. Yes. And so, I definitely have them check in on all of this, because sometimes that alone can be really profound for someone.
Well, thank you so much for educating us about the benefits of yoga therapy.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And to everyone else, learn about yoga therapy, how it can help you. Yoga therapy is much more than yoga. That's what we wanted to bring today. And we wanted to bring a yoga therapist. She specializes on pelvic health. I think all of us have had some issues with our pelvic health. We are just too shy to talk about it. But try yoga therapy. With that, thank you so much, Jessica, for being with us. And to all the viewers, thank you for supporting us every day. Bye-bye now.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Bye.